Thank you all very much for joining me for this webinar on House of Waine. Um, as I mentioned, this webinar will be nice and short. It's only about 10 minutes. And as always, this webinar will be recorded and we'll upload it to our YouTube channel where you can catch up on it there. Similarly, we'll send it out in a newsletter follow-up with all of the fact sheets, rates, and images that you need to sell House of Waine. There will also be some time at the end for questions. So if anything comes to mind throughout the presentation or at the end, please do pop it into the chat box and I'll be able to answer it live. And if not, you can always reach out to me after the webinar. So House of Waine. For those of you who are not familiar with House of Waine, it is a very boutique, small independent property in the suburbs of Nairobi in Karen. And the hotel itself is actually a family-owned and run property. And the name Waine is actually an anagram for the initials of the family. So it originally started out as a family home and then it was converted to a hotel in 2004. So when you travel to House of Wayne, you really do get this lovely family run home from home experience. So just some quick facts about the property. As I said, it's small, boutique. We only have 11 bedrooms in the main hotel, and then we also have a two-bedroom cottage for exclusive use. Karen is a really beautiful suburb on the outskirts of Nairobi, and it really is where you want your guests to stay if they are doing an overnight there. Um, they've got some amazing attractions, which I'll talk a bit more about at the end, and it's also just a really cool and interesting city to explore. In terms of access, we are about 45 minutes away from the international airport. And then in terms of Wilson Airport, the domestic terminal, we're about 25 to 30 minutes. So really easy access to connect with those safari flights if you're doing a post night in Nairobi or a pre-night in Nairobi. And then just touching on the rates, I will send these rates out in the follow-up newsletter. Um, we do now have a low season rate. Previously, it was all just standard rates, but we now have divided that into high season and low season. So the low season runs from the 29th of December right up to the 31st of May. So your clients can take advantage of that really good value low season rate at a really amazing time to explore Kenya. And that low season rate is also applicable from the 1st of November right up until we close for festive. So I will send those rates out. It's just good to bear in mind that we do have that low season rate and our 2027 rates are now also available, which I will send out. Not written here actually as well, which I will also send more details out on, is our new exclusive use offer. Um, so that will be for big groups, multi-generational trips, even some incentive travel if that is what you do, to take the property on exclusive use. So we will send you out a base rate for that also. And as I said, we'll talk a little bit more about the activities at the end. But for those of you who aren't so familiar with Kenya, or new to selling a destination, we are located in Nairobi in the outskirts in Karen. So this is where all or majority of our guests will fly into. And as I said, it's a really great hub and a really cool place to explore pre or post safari. We do offer a day rate. Good to note that this is not a day room, but a special day rate offer. So this includes access to the hotel and facilities, and that includes all of our conference facilities, our library, and the pool pavilion and changing rooms. So yeah, great if you have guests who have a long layover at the airport. It's slightly out of budget to, have a day room if they want to come hang out here, change, use the pool, maybe see some of the other attractions around the area. That's all really possible. And you also do get a three-course meal included in that offer. But this is the property itself. One of the things that we love about the property is the space. So you are in a really serene setting, really beautiful, lush gardens surround the property. And as I said, Cairns a really beautiful suburb. It's really lush green. There's a really nice atmosphere there. And as I said, just lots of space, beautiful gardens to relax in, lots of amazing bird life. And just for your own reference, here is our pool and the changing facilities. And as I mentioned, we do also have a two-bedroom cottage, which is used for those groups or travelers who just want a bit more space during their stay. And again, um, amazing service standards and really nice meals. Very kind of wholesome, warm, hearty food. And then in terms of the rooms, as I said, we have 10 bedrooms and then one suite in the main hotel. So all of the rooms, they reflect a different theme. They were all inspired by the matriarch of the family. As I said, the suite is a really beautiful space if you have kind of longer stays in Nairobi, and particularly for couples or honeymooners. Really beautiful space. We have a really beautiful deck that they can do private dining on. And what I love about the rooms personally is how open and spacious they are. They all have very large windows that look out onto the gardens, let in lots of light, and just a really elegant and contemporary design. We do also then have interconnecting rooms. So these are great, obviously, for families or if you have friends traveling together. And what is nice about these rooms is that they are actually all to one side of the property. So it almost feels like if you take those interconnecting rooms, they lead out onto the gardens. You feel like you have a wing of the hotel to yourself. And as I said, a two-bedroom cottage, which is just to the back of the property, but a really beautiful space. You've got a kitchenette, lounge, dining area. This is the ensuite king room. And then we have a small single room then if you have a child. So I mentioned briefly at the beginning that we have additional facilities on the property. That includes our conference facilities. So we do take bigger groups and events, um, and both those are both local and international. But what I will say in this regard is that the reservations team are really good at managing numbers here. So if you do have FIT travelers, you can be rest assured that there will be no kind of um, events or anything that would be disruptive of their experience um, when staying at the property. And then one of the things I love is the library workspace. So again, this combines really nicely with the day rate. And even if you're doing it post night after your safari, if have guests that want to catch up on emails or work before they take their flight, it's a really nice space to do so. And then just touching on the activities, um, me and the girls in the office, we often say that it's a shame that a lot of people kind of rush out on safari when they arrive in Nairobi, as there's actually quite a lot to see and do in the city, particularly around Karen. I've taken a couple of fam trips out to Kenya, and we always spend a day at the beginning kind of exploring Karen, and it's always a real hit with the agents. So the kind of main activities we tend to do are the Sheldrick Animal Orphanage. This is a really amazing sanctuary within the Nairobi National Park. It's you get an hour time slot, or you can have a kind of private experience, but a really cool and fascinating experience to have. Um, this went just to note that you do now have to also pay for the Nairobi National Park fees when you book this experience. And if you are booking it during the high season, you do need to get in there early with that reservation. Karen Blixen Museum is another experience that we always include in our kind of Karen Nairobi tour. It's a really nice tour of the house and the farm and the gardens and learning about her story. And then Giraffe Centre. Again, this is a really cool experience where you learn about the endangered Rothschild giraffe and to see their sanctuary and Yeah, a really nice experience. I think particularly for kids, gets them quite excited for going on safari. Um, so yes. Another couple of like ideas that you can do in Nairobi as well. We always kind of tend to add in a meal at Cultiva or the Talisman or Matt Braun's. They're three really well known restaurants in the area. Cultiva is probably my personal favorite. It's a really cool kind of farm to fork restaurant. So I always try to include it whenever I am passing through Nairobi. So yes, just a very quick look at the rates. Um, so as I said, we have our high season rate, which runs from the 1st of June to the 31st of August. And then outside of that that season, it is then a low season rate. So our rates are available on bed and breakfast up to full board. Um, and yeah, I think that is it.